Hello everyone, welcome to the show today. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us here today. On this morning's show, we're covering the Democrats' new healthcare proposal and how the Republicans and the Democrats plan to make healthcare a battleground once again. Prosecutors' decision just in to drop charges on Jussie Smollett. Today's hearings in Congress on aviation safety will also be on the show today. All right. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of sunshine today, but it's going to be very chilly, just like our political climate at this moment. All right. So that's what we got for you. We're starting off, though, of course, with healthcare, as Democrats on Tuesday introduced a measure to lower health insurance premiums, strengthen protection for people with pre-existing conditions, and ban the sale of quote-unquote junk insurance. And the legislation came a day after the Trump administration moved to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act. So yeah, you can see which party really has their priorities straight here. And again, this is an issue. This is an issue really that I think is very clear that almost like pretty much all the time, I mean, to an increasing amount of American people that the Democrats are better off. They just are. Like, I think that's what's coming on. Like, I mean, we haven't seen the Republicans really put that much of an effort on this. I think I read a report that I did actually. I saw a report that the Republican senators really do not want to be talking about healthcare right now. They just want to write out the small report for as long as humanly possible. Yeah. So what they're going to try to do is, of course, strengthening protections for people with pre-existing condition and ban the sale of junk insurance. Of course, the legislation came a day after the Trump administration moved to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act. The Justice Department had initially said that only parts of the healthcare law, including its protections for pre-existing conditions, should be struck down. But now they want it all. They want it all. There are major consequences if the Affordable Care Act is ruled unconstitutional. One of them being obviously that 21 million people could lose their health insurance. That's no joke. It's very serious stuff. All right, so yeah, we're going to be very much keeping an eye on that, and that's really what's going to be a very interesting battleground to watch over the next coming weeks and days, because a lot of people we're going to really try and get the upper hand on that front. That's for sure. All right, so. Yeah, and of course, this is, again, a good opportunity to possibly push Medicare for all if you're Bernie Sanders, and I'm sure, or AOC, I'm sure they're going to miss no opportunity on that front. So that does come from me a little bit. In a startling case that drew national attention, prosecutors in Chicago dropped all charges against the Empire actor Jussie Smollett, who is accused of staging a hate crime in January. It's unclear what led prosecutors to his decision, which was sharply criticized by city officials. Mayor Rahm Emanuel called it a whitewash of justice. Interesting. And cited Mr. Smollett's celebrity as a factor in the decision. So, yeah, that's what he did. Not a lot of people saw that coming. So, yeah, Joe Magatz is the name of the prosecutor. He said the charges were dropped after Smollett agreed to community service and give up to the $10,000 he paid for his give up the $10,000 he paid for his release, but Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson soon announced the decision and renewed their criticism of Mr. Smollett. The contradictory statements from the city's leadership showed how tangled and inflammatory the case had become. After Tuesday's statements from Mr. Magatz, Smollett's lawyer, Emanuel Johnson, and Smollett have said tons of different things on this decision. The prosecutor said, quote, "We did not exonerate him." Well, he is certainly not going to jail. But honestly, I mean, good on the Chicago police department, because even the justice system there, because even if the police didn't like it, they were still a black guy really got away with something there, and that's not something you see every day. So Smollett is, again, if you didn't know, if you forgot about this, Smollett, who's black, gay, and vocal on social issues, had told the police that two men attacked him, taunting him with homophobic and racial slurs. The men later said they'd been paid by Smollett to concoct the attack, according to police. So yeah, that is the startling situation that we have going on here. But personally, again, he is free now. Everyone said different things. There's And a lot of people, really are mad about it for some reason. But personally, I really don't think the place for this guy is in jail. I think this place for this guy is in a couple months of intense sessions of therapy to get this guy back on his feet. Because it's not normal to order an attack on yourself. It's just that simple. You should get maybe, just some help, because he over his salary is why I think he did it. But the best part, that's my serious opinion. He doesn't belong in jail, in my opinion. But what he does, what I really like to see is people who are just absolutely freaking out about all of this. And all the conservatives who are like, this is a waste. The Chicago justice system can let black people get away with anything these days. Anything. And then make it like a racial thing. And that is all incredibly, incredibly funny to me. That black people just get away with anything in the Chicago justice system. It's so fair, so fair, so fair. Really always works. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, so, but just see Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, all those people get mad. It just makes my day a little bit better. And personally, I don't care if he went to jail. The only person who was really attacking was himself. Really, you think, Chicago Police Department just was totally hamstrung by this investigation? That's what I hear some conservatives saying. They're like, the Chicago Police Department was, they wasted all this manpower on this guy. You really think they couldn't do other things? And by the way, honestly, we're talking about the Chicago Police Department there. All right, I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, we turn our eye to the Mueller investigation now. At the end of the inquiry by the Special Counsel, Robert Mueller has made clear at least one thing: President Trump has successfully thrown out the unwritten rules that have been in place since Richard Nixon resigned. The special counsel's decision not to take a position on whether Trump obstructed justice means that future occupants of the White House could feel entitled to take similar actions, and it may be the Mueller report's most enduring legacy. That's the most important thing. It's going to be really enduring legacy. That's very interesting. I highly recommend you read that news analysis here from Peter Baker in the New York Times, if you can. Right now, on the other hand, the spotlight is intensifying on Boeing as congressional committees are holding hearings today to examine the federal oversight of the aviation industry, offering lawmakers an opportunity to question Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao about the Boeing 737 MAX. The hearings are likely to be the most public reckoning for Boeing since the crash of the Ethiopian Airlines jet earlier this month. The accident came 5 months after the crash of the 737 MAX jet in Indonesia, prompting serious concern about the model's safety. With deep ties to Washington and a lavish lobbying budget, Boeing would appear to be well prepared to deal with this public relations crisis, but the company's public comments have been relatively sparse. And you think they'd be really on this, but I think their public comments are going to speak a lot less than their private comments. Let's just say that. All right, so the House failed to override President Trump's first veto, shifting the fight over his declaration on the southwest border to the courts recently. So that's going to be very interesting. He's going to be heading to the courts on that front. Also, as we do our quick headlines just before we head out here, the Purdue Farm settlement, the makers of OxyContin and its owners, the Sackler family, agreed to pay the state of Oklahoma $270 million to avoid going to trial over the company's role in the opioid epidemic. Parliament set to vote today on alternatives for President Trump's Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to withdraw Britain from the EU. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced today that his country had shut down a satellite. If the test is confirmed, India would join China, Russia, and the U.S. in having the ability to destroy targets in space. President Benjamin Netanyahu, or Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, argued that President Trump's recognition of Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights allowed the country to keep territory seized in war. Literally nobody else recognizes the Golan Heights as Israeli land. The argument could pave the way for the annexation of at least part of the occupied West Bank. So over in the UFC and sports world, a very interesting story. Conor McGregor, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC's biggest star, and one of the world's highest paid athletes, decided to retire yesterday, but it also came out that he was under a sexual assault inquiry, so maybe no coincidence? I don't know. Yeah, so right next door to where I live in Rockland County, a suburb of New York City, they've declared a state of emergency and barred unvaccinated children from public places due to measles. That is somewhat disturbing, just to say the least. Above, though, over in Mozambique, in a village near Beira, Mozambique, one of the hardest areas by Cyclone Idai, the United Nations says that storm created devastation on the level of crisis in war-torn South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. So it's just cyclone there has just washed out everything and little resources that they had at this point. So yeah, there is definitely, see if you can find a way to help them and pitch in if you really can, because it's not great at all. All right, so finally, we're going to do a little bit of a biography. Fun fact about William Boeing. It's synonymous with airplanes. William Boeing, the company's founder, was the son of a German immigrant turned lumber tycoon and seems to have inherited his father's business acumen in addition to his Americanized vision of their family name. It started off as B, and then hit the umlaut over the O and the ing. But he did Americanize it a little bit and founded the massive Boeing airplane company. According to Mr. Boeing's biography and the company's website, he started flying as a hobby around 1910 and quickly believed that airplanes could make a worthwhile business. Convinced there was a definite future in aviation, I became interested in the construction of, as well as flying of aircraft. He once told in an interview. That interest eventually led to the Boeing Aircraft Company, which initially focused on military planes, but has long been known for its commercial aircraft. Boeing left his namesake company in 1934 to pursue work in other industries, including lumber, real estate, horse breeding, and livestock farming, although he continued consulting Boeing for the rest of his life. All right, so shout out to the New York Times for a little background on Boeing, and it'll be interesting to see. I wonder what William would be thinking of this 737 MAX scandal. All interesting stuff. All right, that's it for us today. We're promised you we had a little bit shorter this time, and we are. You just got the world in a little bit under 13 minutes. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.